Okay, we're going to talk about the featured property block. The featured property block is a great block for showcasing your listings on your homepage. It's also a great way if you want to add these to, for instance, a community page or a particular page you want to showcase listings in a particular area. This is a great block for that. Now, there's a lot of options that you have when you go into the block by selecting on details, selecting on the block. The first tab I'm going to see is my layout. And this is going to allow me to control things like the color of this background, theme elements, whether I want to use the theme from the color themes from my website, how many rows and columns would I like to have displayed on the site. This panel that sits right here, do I want that to show up, or would I rather have more listings? You can toggle that on and off. Do I want these buttons to show up or not? Another great way is text on image. So this is just changes the look of the particular image. So if I don't want to have the text, down below here, and I want to see more image, I can choose to have the text on the image. Whether these images go full screen or are controlled to a specific size. And then of course the pagination control, which is this little button down here at the bottom. Do I want that on or off? Would I like to change the color to that to something different? You can change all of those things. Next down here is animations, and this allows you to choose whether or not I want this little zoom animation that happens here. If, for instance, I don't want that, I can just take that off and no longer have that zoom animation. And then, of course, MLS details. You may choose to hide beds, baths, square footage. So those simply just aren't showing up on there. So a couple of different options for how you can configure the look and feel of these blocks. Now let's talk about MLS data. So selecting on the MLS tab here in the top left-hand corner, the first is areas. And the most important thing you're going to want to do is actually select the MLS that you're in. You won't be able to get data to come through if you don't select this. Next, I can choose an area. If I want to set this to be, for instance, a specific city, and I only want to pull in those city listings, I can begin to add the cities that I'd like to showcase here. Or I can say, hey, I don't want to do that. I want to showcase my listings, selecting on the office agent details. This is where you can put in your office ID. And now if you're a team, you may want to put in all the IDs of each one of your team members, and simply do that by typing in the ID and hitting enter, and those will stack in there. You can also do the same with an office. If you have a particular office that you're in and you want those to show up, you can do that. Now, you have the option of putting in your ID and your office ID. That way, if you don't have any listings or you only have one listing, it's going to show your listings first and then your office listings. And you can say that right here. I want my listings to show up first, and then it'll be my offices. You can also choose if you only want those listings to show up that are yours and no other listings as well by checking on the only agent office listings option. Next, we move down to the property details. This is where you can check the type of property that you want to show up on the block, and also configure things like beds, bath, garage, square footage. You may want to set a particular price range if you're doing only homes above 100 or 500,000. You can set the range of properties that will show up in this block. Next is property status. By default, it will show all active listings on the site, but if I wanted to show active pendings and active with contingencies, I could do that. You could also choose to show your sold listings. If you've put in your office ID, your agent ID, you can select on sold to show your sold listings. Last is the extra options. Only show new listings. This is an option I can check, for instance, if I only want to show properties that are new within the last 7 days. So those are just a high-level overview of some of the options that you have available for selecting and using the block, and the layout and style of design that you can change for this particular featured property block.